Hello Cave Dwellers, welcome to the cave. We have a special visitor today. It's the man, the hat and the legend. It's Richard from Top Hat Gaming Man, or the Top Hat Gaming Man. Richard, welcome to the cave.
Hello, how are
Thank
you
you for
doing?
coming.
Yes.
And you've brought something very special with you today, something that I've never actually seen in person, let alone played. So I'm really excited about having a look at this. But before we do, let's talk about your channel, Top Hat Gaming Man.
Yes.
But also more recently, Top Hat Chat.
Yes, I've just launched a little secondary platform on YouTube called Top Hat Chat.
Okay.
Where basically myself and a friend, we just discuss various things retro gaming related, I suppose, and some other generic YouTube topics which are trending as well, I suppose.
Yep.
But on my main girthy channel, I like to cover in-depth gaming content, I suppose, like full-length documentary-style videos and stuff like that, yes.
Yeah, I've watched several of them, well, many of them, and enjoyed them.
Excellent.
And also with Top Hat Chat, you're also incorporating a bit of Twitch streaming as well now, aren't you?
We are indeed, yes. So we are on Twitch, on twitch.tv/TopHatChat, 9 PM GMT every Saturday night, yeah.
Excellent. And how's that going for you? I've dropped into a few streams.
It's been good fun so far. At the moment, it feels more like a leisure pursuit because I'm actually enjoying getting the opportunity to actually sit down for 6 hours every Saturday night and actually play games because being such a busy man, as I would assume you are as well, it's very difficult to dedicate that much time simply to playing a game.
Absolutely.
And that's what's great about Twitch.
And it's a resolution I made at the start of this year to play more games. I don't think I've really met that yet. So Twitch streaming is a perfect way to almost force yourself to play more games.
You can justify it then.
Absolutely.
So you've got a reason other than fun.
But not with the Virtual Boy.
We
Bit of a difficult one to stream.
Yeah, we can't sadly stream the Virtual Boy.
So we'll try and get some footage of the eyepieces today, but we'll also use some emulation to show you the games just so you can see what it's all about. It's very difficult to film stereoscopic screen.
Yes,
I don't think anyone's found a way just yet. But more on that a bit later. So when did you start with the YouTube channel?
I started YouTubing just over 2 years ago. So how long would that be? 26 months ago now, if we're going to be very precise.
Yeah, yeah.
But I generally cover, like I said, retro gaming content. But it's quite, when I say retro gaming content, I suppose it's gaming in a broader sense because I do cover some modern stuff. And I go right back to covering stuff like the Atari, VCS, and then all the British platforms as well, like the ZX Spectrum. I try to give somewhat of a global perspective of gaming, which you may have seen on my channel. Throughout 2017 and some of 2016, I actually travelled around the world, and I visited 5 different continents over that stretch. So I got to look at gaming culture and just play all these different handhelds and review them in a variety of countries.
Handhelds around the world.
Handhelds around the world, yes.
Tell me how that worked. Did you have your handhelds shipped to you? Did you take them with you, or did you buy them as you were travelling? How did you manage to pull that whole series off?
Okay, let's go back. Okay, so I went to Greece first of all, brought a few handhelds with me. Had to go back to England in September for my friend's wedding. Deposited a few handhelds, got some different ones. Went to the United States, procured some more handhelds like this lovely Virtual Boy here. Then again, visited home for Christmas. Did the same thing. Got some more handhelds, put the other ones away. Went off to the Far East, then Australia with that plethora of handhelds, and then.
So it just worked out well to make the series. Well,
luck.
if you haven't seen it, do check out his handhelds around the world as well as his other content. It's an excellent channel. It's nice to see it being so successful. I think you're coming up on 20,000
I should hit 20,000 this month, hopefully.
So congratulations.
Fingers crossed, Steve. Some of you subscribe to me, yes.
Excellent. And speaking of handhelds then, let's talk about the Virtual Boy. Would you class this as a handheld, a portable, or a face held? What is it?
I suppose it's really an unholdable. I suppose that's probably the best way to describe it. Because obviously you can't actually hold it and play it simultaneously because you need to control it at the same time. So it just kind of has to awkwardly sit somewhere, bearing in mind there's no straps to put it on your face. Yeah.
Would you like to demonstrate the pose for us,
Okay.
Richard? How does this work?
So I suppose what you need to do is to make sure your back's actually in quite good condition first of all. Straight in the back, and then you've got to kind of stretch down like this, and then you can play Virtual Boy, which I suppose is a handheld in a sense that's actually powered off of 6 AA batteries, so you can play this anywhere in the world. Like, I got to review the platform when I was at the Grand Canyon.
Yes, I saw that. The beautiful view of the Grand Canyon, and you chose to look at this instead.
Yes.
That's dedication.
And one of my favourite moments when I was there as well, some American man actually noticed that I had a Virtual Boy and actually knew what it was, which I was quite astounded. He was like, why are you playing a Virtual Boy in the Grand Canyon? And I was
Why not?
Yes, YouTube. So yes,
Excellent,
that was it.
excellent. So let's get a closer look at it then. It's made up, as you said, of the controller, a tripod. It's a strange design decision to put it on a tripod.
Well, is it a tripod? Because there's obviously not three prongs, there's only two.
Bipod then, yeah.
Bipod, yes.
Bipod. I guess the third one would hit your chin if you had it there. We've got this sort of plastic design. It's not a bad construction, is it? It's pretty solid.
It's meaty.
Meaty.
Yes.
And then we've got the focus button up here. What else have we got? What's this one here? This dial at the top. IPD.
I'm not actually sure what that one does, actually.
Okay, we'll have a play with that and see what it does. Any other buttons on here? You've got the cartridge slot on the front.
Cartridge slot's there, and you've got the on-off button on the controller
On
itself.
here, yeah, so it's completely portable. You don't need to plug it into the mains. And is there a separate charger for the battery, or you
can buy a separate charger, but it's expensive as far as I'm aware.
Okay,
and
you just put the standard batteries in there.
Bearing in mind the sort of hardware the Virtual Boy is, personally, I would not want to play it long enough to need an external battery pack.
Sure, yeah.
So-
Yeah, and I've heard about that actually, the length of time that you play on it. There's actually a warning on the front of the box here, I think, for players of 7 years and older, and I think there's a whole host of warnings in the manual to say not to play it for more than, is it 15 minutes, I think is the recommended
It's
advice.
longer than that, I can't remember. If we power it on, we can find out the exact amount of time.
Okay.
I believe it's probably somewhere between half an hour and 1 hour, I
Okay.
think, maybe 45 minutes, something around that time frame. However, what I find amusing about this is that the Virtual Boy console has got a reputation for causing migraines, headaches, sickness, because that's what it tells you in the manual it could cause. But that's nothing to do with the Virtual Boy itself. That's just 3D in general. Like, you have exactly the same warnings if you look through the 3DS manual, but I suppose people are less ill-informed on technology. Like, I remember when I was in school and had a mobile phone, and people was telling me, don't spend too much time on your phone, you're going to get cancer.
Yes.
So it's exactly the same sort of ridiculous hyperbole, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's called a Virtual Boy. It promotes itself as being virtual reality. Would you call it virtual reality or something different?
Virtual reality, I can't really see how you could find yourself in a position where you could perceive that as some sort of reality. I can't see any scenario where it would trick your brain into thinking, this is a bit like being in the real world, because you're just stuck looking forward. You can't look left or right. So you're looking at
no motion tracking.
Yeah, you're looking at one stationary screen through your entire playthrough. So.
And the games have quite a distinctive look. Let's bring some games up on the screen now so that you can see them.
So even like, I suppose the closest we could get is a game, for example, like Boxer, because it's in first person.
Okay.
So you've got a first person view or something, so that's about as close as it gets to actual virtual reality. Is first person, but there's nothing really.
So you have a sense of depth perception.
Yes,
and it actually promoted itself as being the first stereoscopic console. Now I don't completely buy that, because I remember a pair of glasses for the Master System.
Yes, and I had those glasses too. I have those glasses, so it's clearly not the first system to feature stereoscopic 3D.
Yeah, and they were more than just green and red glasses. They were actually active shutters on the glasses, weren't they, that got in time with the image and gave you a sense of depth. So I'm not buying that, Nintendo. That's a bit too much hype for my liking.
Yes, typical, I suppose.
And technically, it's called a Virtual Boy, but it doesn't have anything in common with the Game Boy, does it? I think it has a completely different processor. It was designed by the same designer, but
Gunpei Yokoi.
But it's not a Game Boy underneath. It's a completely different machine. It says on the front there it's got a 32-bit RISC processor.
I say the only thing it really has in common with the Virtual Boy, the Game Boy, apart from its portability, is the fact that you're playing the games with no colour.
Yeah.
You've got the monochrome green with the Game Boy, where you've got the black and red with this piece of hardware.
Yeah, and the reason it uses the red is because that's the colour that uses the least battery, I understand. That was the design choice there. Let's look at some more games now then. Up on the screen is Mario Tennis, which would have come bundled with it.
Yes.
Any other games bundled with it?
This one did come bundled with Doesn't say. Yeah, Mario Tennis.
Mario
it
Tennis,
says it
yeah.
includes inside on the back of the box.
Uh-huh.
So yes, it came bundled with Mario Tennis.
Okay.
Which, just an average tennis game, really.
Yeah,
Nothing
not doing
too
it for
striking.
you.
Not really.
No, okay. And it was a 5th generation console. That's what it was classed as. So in competition with, I think the Game Boy Pocket was around then, even though that was really an older generation.
Was it around yet by 1995? It's hard to get the timeline.
Sure.
It may not. It may have. It may not have by that point.
What else did we have? Sega Nomad, was that out by then?
Sega Nomad was 1995, I believe, as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So. And again, that wasn't a successful console.
No.
Anything else out around then?
But there was a ridiculous amount of platforms out in terms of portable hardware.
Yeah.
You had the Nomad. I suppose the Game Gear and the Lynx would have still existed.
Sort of
and
hanging around,
the PC Engine GT.
Yeah, but the original Game Boy was still king.
Yeah, it's cornered the market completely, yes.
Absolutely. So what other games have we got here then?
A game what's thought to be one of the best by many is obviously Wario Land,
Let's have a look at that.
which is Virtual Boy Wario Land, which is a decent side-scrolling platformer. It's got 2 planes in the game, from what I remember. So you can walk along the traditional plane, which is directly in front of you, and then there's another plane in the background. You can go like down pipes and stuff, and then walk in the background. So that gives it the depth of 3D.
It takes advantage and gives you the depth. Yeah.
In fact, a game I quite like on it is actually Mario Clash as well. It's basically kind of like a reimagining of the Mario arcade game.
Yeah.
But to feature depth instead again.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've actually emulated the game before on PC,
Okay.
and I've struggled to play the PC version because without the depth, it is a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
So at least they modelled the game towards the 3D hardware.
Yeah, so they're not trying to go too far with the 3D aspects. They're still using some quite traditional gameplay, but just using the 3D as a nice feature, as they did in the 3DS, really. But this game doesn't appear on any other platforms, does it? I know a lot of people would like to see this on the 3DS.
That's one of the great things about the Virtual Boy, I would say, actually, if you're a retro gamer, is all the games don't appear on any other hardware except the Virtual Boy. Every game is
exclusive.
Every game is an exclusive, which you don't get very much anymore, do you, with any system?
Absolutely. And one game which is particularly exclusive is this one, Hyper Fighting, which I'm quite nervous to hold because I know how much it's worth. Tell us a little bit about this one. This isn't an official release, is it?
It's not. This is a homebrew title known as Hyper Fighting, which is a port of Street Fighter, Street Fighter 2. And it's actually bloody excellent. Like, it's a really impressive, well-made game. Perhaps more well-made than any of the actual official releases on the system, which is outrageous when you think about it. And it's very well crafted, as you can see, even the box and... Let me get as well the manual if you'd like to have a look at that. Yeah. So look, it looks like an official game, doesn't it? It could easily be.
And have they squeezed the full Street Fighter game in there?
Yes.
Cut anything out?
Everything's in it.
We've got enough buttons for the
and
moves,
also
I guess we have, yeah. I guess if you,
if these function, the D-pad functions as 4 buttons. Yes.
Yeah. So you've got your 6 buttons. The shoulder pads.
Also, I believe, as you can see, someone has developed a way of linking a Super Nintendo pad up to the Virtual Boy.
Wow.
So you can play the Street Fighter game with a Super Nintendo controller as well. And also, another peripheral that's available for it, the same people who've developed this have also developed a Virtual Boy link cable, which was actually supposed to come out back in the day, but was never released. So if you're lucky enough to own 2 Virtual Boys and 2 copies of Hyper Fighting, then you can play the game against a friend, which would be nice.
I dread to think how much it would cost for that setup.
But luckily, the person I bought this game from, who lives over in Chelmsford, which is less than an hour's drive from my house, the reason he sold it to me, because he too, it was his second copy. He has 2 copies. So maybe some point down the line, he owns the link cable as well. Brilliant. We'll be able to meet up and actually have... maybe at the first ever 2-player.
Maybe the world's first head-to-head Hyper Fighting, and it really will be head-to-head.
But this game, it's bloody very sought after, based on the fact that it was distributed in extremely limited supply, because I believe the person who developed the game was terrified of getting persecuted.
Understandably.
For making an illegal title. So I could be wrong, but I believe there's only around 50 to 100 copies of this game in existence.
Wow, okay. And it's available on emulation? Is anyone...
No, it's not available on emulation. Not properly. There's ways of doing it, but it doesn't function very well. And... we'll talk about this quickly as well.
Yeah.
I've got this, which is another homebrew development, the Flash Boy,
okay,
where you can store one Virtual Boy game at a time. So if you download a Virtual Boy ROM offline, you can play the actual games using Virtual Boy hardware. But this doesn't fit on the Flash Boy.
No, this is this 32 megabits, I think, something like that.
I believe it's the biggest Virtual Boy game.
It's about 4 times the size of any other official release.
And it doesn't fit on here. So again, it's the only really way to
exclusive.
Really... Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm going to have a play on that today. Yes. Excellent. Where did it come out first? Was it a worldwide release, or was it...
I believe the system only came out in Japan and North America. So obviously when I toured the United States for 3 months in 2016, I really wanted to add a Virtual Boy to my collection. So I went from retro game store to retro game store, state to state, looking for one. And finally, I found this baby over in Chicago.
Okay, with the box and all.
So yes, Japan and North America is where this system came out.
Never had a European release. So any region locks at all?
There is no region locks, and this brings me on to another point, actually, which I've always found quite amusing. There was, I believe, to have been 13 games released in the States.
Okay.
And due to that fact, a lot of people in that country go for those 13 games, and then they claim they have a full, complete set of Virtual Boy games, which I think is utterly ridiculous, because the system's completely
if it's region-free, then
if it's region-free,
into account. I agree.
If it's region-free, then there's no such thing as a US exclusive set of Virtual Boy games. You need all 22.
Well, we may have a few angry comments, but I'll let you deal with them. So you need all 22. And you deal with them very well, I must say. So on release, how well was it received? Did it sell well? I know it had a fairly short lifespan, so I'm guessing...
Well, I think it says it all, really. The fact that it wasn't released in Europe full stop pretty much says how badly the platform sold, considering most Nintendo platforms do see release here.
And coming on to the demise of it, I've actually got a question from a patron here, which ties in with my next question, but I'll let him ask it. It's Rolf. And he says...
Hello, Rolf.
And he says, was the Virtual Boy always doomed, or could some minor tweaks, better games, or more support from Nintendo potentially have saved it?
I personally think it's a really quirky, interesting system today, but I'm not sure whether it's interesting simply out of the morbid curiosity of the system, and also for myself as a European, and maybe yourself as well, the mystique around a Nintendo platform that never saw the light of day here. So in regards to the question, I do not think there was any way of having the Virtual Boy in this form at least do well, especially when we look at 1995, as I discussed on my channel the other week, all the different flops over that period. Like, people were sick of the amount of hardware that was available at that time. There was different hardware everywhere you looked, and people just didn't care.
And anyone who had dropped money on a 32X or a Mega CD and then found that they couldn't get games for it and were abandoned effectively by Sega, you know, you can understand why they were cautious about spending money on something so revolutionary as a virtual reality portable handheld, face-held, whatever we're going to call it.
I've heard people comment on my videos recently that between 1993 and 1995 was the period of experimentation in gaming. There was a lot of odd hardware and a lot of strange choices, and the Virtual Boy is a great example of that.
And it didn't stick. Would you recommend this as a system to collect?
I'd say almost definitely, actually. Definitely something worth collecting for, simply for the fact, well, there's a lot of facts actually, I suppose. Firstly, the fact that every single game on the platform is an exclusive.
Absolutely.
Secondly, with these games, you cannot truly experience them properly unless you're playing on the hardware itself. The majority of systems these days you can emulate absolutely perfectly on your computer. Whereas the only way to get the true Virtual Boy experience is using a Virtual Boy. Further to that as well, if you're one of these people with OCD tendencies who likes to go for full sets of games, then with only 22, that's a lot more achievable than it would be for a lot of other platforms.
It is, and obviously there are the hyper fighters that cost Oh, last time I checked, $600 to $1,200 some people are paying for that. But the average game, how much are you paying for, say, Wario Land there?
To be fair, everything here is pretty affordable. Like,
Yeah.
it's all worth under £30, with the exception of Jack Brothers, which I believe, I could be mistaken, goes for around over £100.
Okay.
It's a great game. It is a spin-off of the Shin Megami Tensei series.
Okay, not one I'm familiar with, and it's all in Japanese, so you'll have to explain to me the premise of this game.
It plays a little bit like, I suppose, like The Legend of Zelda, like Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Only instead of like whacking a sword about, it's like shootery. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
So you shoot instead, like top-down shooter, I suppose
Excellent.
would be the term for the game. So outside of these, though, there are some very, very expensive Virtual Boy games, especially the Japan exclusives, which I personally believe is why American collectors cop out on those titles, because they're so pricey. I believe you've got Space Invaders, which complete in-box copy is going to set you back about £700 just to play Space Invaders. Like, nothing special there.
Yeah.
There is a Gundam Dimensions game as well, which is a little bit a strange tactical RPG.
Sure.
Again, not that great for Westerners because all the text in Japanese. So
Then again,
very.
if there's any kind of storyline,
I think they go up to £1,000 copies of that, so crazy. And there's a few more really high-end titles as well for the system. So the high-end games are true high-end.
Excellent. Well, I hope you got the effect of some of those games. I know we had to show them through emulation, but you get the idea of the style and the kind of gameplay that this machine has to offer. I just had one more question. We had that question from our patron, Rolf.
Okay. Rolf.
Mrs. Retro Man Cave actually has a question she'd like to put to you, which is, what do you keep under your hat? I'm sure it's something a lot of people would like answered. So, Richard, what's under your hat?
What's beneath the hat? What's beneath the hat?
So what's under my hat? Well, a very sexy head of hair, which I must say I actually grew myself. Can you grow hair?
No, Richard, I can't.
Oh, that's a shame. I'd give you some of mine, but I'm a little bit too fond of it, unfortunately. Would you like to wear my hat for a bit?
I think I would.
Okay.
I've been Top Hat Gaming Man. I hope you enjoyed our talk on the Virtual Boy today. Thank you for watching, Cave Dwellers.
And this has been fun in the Retro Man Cave. Cheerio.
Cheerio.
A special thank you then to Top Hat Gaming Man. If you haven't already done so, then do pop over to his channel and his sister channel Top Hat Chat. And as always, a thank you to my patrons whose generosity makes this channel possible. If you'd like to support Retro Man Cave, then check out the Patreon link in the video description. Thank you and take care.